So today session, I'm going to discuss about a real-time application development utility library, or I can say like nowadays the usage of Project Lombok utility jar file or third-party jar file, whatever it is, it's a real-time point of view. Generally nowadays, every every Java application or Spring Boot application, whatever you taken, so this Lombok jar file being used everywhere. So what is the importance of Project Lombok and why? What are the benefits we are getting from the Project Lombok? Okay, so as part of our Java applications, and so we will try to understand all the details in today's session. So this concept is not nowhere related to the either Java or Spring Boot. So it's a real time. I can say like it's a real time application development library. So the moment I said like library is nothing but it's kind of a predefined functionality is predefined. It's a jar file and it is having all predefined functionalities to help us in the real-time application development. So that means how it is helping us in the real-time application development and what is the idea of Project Lombok and how we are using this Project Lombok as part of our Java applications. Okay, how we are getting benefits. Let's try to understand. So one more time I'm telling you, this is not a concept as part of the Java, and this is not a concept as part of the Spring or Spring Boot, whatever it is. It's a individual, a jar file library, or a concept, a library, nothing but jar file, or it is a kind of a predefined framework to get some benefits as part of our real-time application development. And I'm telling you nowadays, more than 90 percentage around all the projects in our day-to-day application development, whenever we are using Java, Spring Boot, microservices, wherever you go. Okay, so nowadays this Lombok jar file being used in every application. So that's why we should know what is Project Lombok, and yes, definitely it is benefiting in so many ways when as to the developer, especially as a developer perspective, this jar file or this concept, okay, this whatever the library we are using into our applications is benefiting a lot to the developers. So what and all, let's see here. Okay, so first of all, before entering into Project Lombok and all, so we have a concept called as pojo class. So we have a concept called as pojo class. So generally what is the concept of pojo class means? I given earlier one session about pojo class also. So if anyone is want to know more about what is a pojo class and if you want to know more details about the pojo class, so my suggestion is just refer this session one time. So this is the session I have for the pojo class point of view. I
Part of
made
this
it.
session.
So I just given all the information about what is a pojo class and what are the benefits of pojo class, what are the rules for the pojo class, what is the importance of a pojo class in a real-time application. I given all the information about as part of this session. So as a YouTube session level, so just go through it if anyone is want to know more. And it's not like I'm telling you one more time. The pojo class concept, when it comes to the pojo class concept, it's 100% required knowledge. There is no point of ignoring 1% also. So that means there is no so that means what is the point here I'm trying to give here? It is it's a as a developer, as a Java application developer, or as a Java Java aspirant point of view, the one of the concept we should know 100% is all about pojo class concept. So that means without the point here it is without a pojo class, there will not be any real time Java application. So there will not be any real time Java application. So that there will not be any real time Java application. So that much important the pojo class is. So first of all, I'll give you a overview of pojo class, but I'm not going more details about the pojo class, but people already who knows about pojo class. So, and from that pojo class or some other scenarios point of view also, how we are getting benefited from the Project Lombok point of view, we will try to understand one by one point. So it's especially, let's see here, whenever I discussed about pojo class or whatever the pojo class concept here it is saying is, generally pojo represents plain old Java object. Plain old Java object. So what is the point of plain or old Java object point of view? Here it is. It's a simple, the pojo class concept is always saying about a simple Java object for a class. So nothing but if I'm taking a class called as product information. So my class is product information. So as part of this class, I want to define the product ID and followed by that product name and followed by the product price and its expiry date, maybe if it is having any expiry date and manufacturing date. Okay, so create date and then followed by any serial number. So etc based on any real-time application point of view, assume you are having so many properties related to a product information, and based on all these products you have to create a Java class. And that too based on the pojo class perspective, what pojo class will contain always is there are some rules available as part of the pojo class. What it is, first of all, once you define the class, we have to make variables as private. So why we are making private, what is the concept behind making private is all about, again, encapsulation. To achieve the encapsulation principle, we will make variables as private. So as part of a Java class, when you are making variables as a private, means we are not allowing, in this case, the point what we are not allowing direct access of variables from outside of the class. From outside of the class. So that means the moment you define, for example, I'll take a class here, product information class. So we will define class like this, public class and like product information. So the moment you defined a class, I said variables are going to be defined as a private variables. So I'm taking as a reference private integer product ID. Product ID or ID, whatever it is. So why I made private here? The point of making private is nothing but it's all about there is a concept available encapsulation data binding point of view. To achieve encapsulation, to achieve the data binding, we will make variables as private so that this variable, whatever variables we are defining as private, those are all not accessible from the, those variables we cannot access outside of the class. Outside of the class means the moment you created an object for this class in any another class, you cannot access these variables directly. So then how we are going to modify the values of these variables? So for this purpose, we understood a concept called as, again, in the pojo class definition level, a concept called as setter methods. So what is the point of setter methods? Why we will write down the setter methods in pojo class? So the reason is why, first of all, when you want to modify a value of ID, or if you want to set a value of ID variable, you cannot access outside of the class. So that means there is no possible of accessing ID variable and setting the value or updating the value of ID. Then in such case, there is a concept available, setter method. So what setter methods are doing in this case, what setter methods are saying is, here via a method, via a instance method, so via a method, that to instance method, non-static method, via a method, we can pass or set value of a variable. So what is the setter method concept? Here it is. Here it is. The moment you restricted accessing variable outside of the class. But if I want to modify always my instance variables data as part of my class object, as part of this object, so we have a concept called as setter methods, and by using setter methods, what we are doing is ultimately we are modifying value of ID only. So that means ultimately we are modifying value of variable called as ID only, but it's not directly via variable. Indirectly we are doing it. That means we are taking a setter method, and you know the rules of setter methods and getter methods. I mean, you have a concept called as some rules are available to define the setter methods. I'm not going to talk about more about those rules. Simply I am writing like set and followed by variable set and followed by variable name. Some syntaxes will be there. You just refer that Pojo class session, you will come to know all the details. And then based on integer ID, and here what you will do is this dot ID equal to ID. So what you are trying to do here, it is the moment you created object for the product information object. Yeah. So the moment we created product information object, so you cannot access the variables. So because it's a private variable. So that's why we will write a public setter method, and then we, by using that object reference, what we will do, we'll pass the values. Product. See, it's all Pojo class information. I'm just rewinding the knowledge of things. Now I'll call setter method set ID, and followed by that I'll pass some value here, like whatever value it is, 111 whatever it is. So now what's happening in this case is the moment you're calling setter method is, it is internally going, I mean, as part of that 1111 value coming here, and the 1111 value is again you're setting back to the instance variable of this variable level. So instead of allowing variable access directly, you are restricted, and you are allowing the variable access indirectly via setter method. So that is what the concept of setter method. So, and again, when you want to read the value, we have a concept called as getter methods. So now whenever I want to know the value of ID variable in outside of the class, I cannot access the variable. So that means the moment I am accessing product.id, compiler will say, it's a, this variable you cannot access. This variable you cannot access. Why? The reason is it's a private variable. So that's why you cannot access private variables outside of the class. Then how can I know that what is the value available inside this ID? So in such case, again, getter method concept is there. So that means again by using getter method concept, what we are doing is get something like that. There are some syntaxes available to define setter and getter methods. So here I will return this dot id, something like that. So that means what is happening again in this method is, what we are doing here, it is you are accessing the variable value, you are accessing the content of variable, but not directly. When you are trying to do directly, you are unable to do that. But if you are doing via, so in this case via getter method, you are accessing the content of variable. So via method you are doing that. Via a method, via a method we are doing it. Via method we are doing it. So this is all about a getter method concept, setter getter method concepts in the Pojo class point of. Now my point here it is, when you are working for as part of the real-time applications, usually we will have hundreds of Pojo classes. So hundreds of Pojo classes. Hundreds of Pojo classes, guys. I'm not talking about a small real-time application. Assume in a bigger perspective. Like assume you are working for a big application, maybe any microservices architecture application. So it will have hundreds of Pojo classes. I'm not even one to hundreds of Pojo classes. So that means, and again, there is a scenario. One more thing is, I taken only one variable here, and as an example point of view, I taken 5 to 6 variables. But in a real-time perspective point of view, sometimes a Pojo class may contain, okay, around 40, 50, 60, 70 variables also. So generally we used to call them as property. Now, in this case, one property called as ID. I mean, if I am taking here again individually, ID, name, price, these are all properties. So 4, 5, 6, 6 properties I have taken here, but this properties count may be increased like around 50 to 60 properties. Even assume I'm just giving an average number called as 50 to 60 properties. So that means a single class, a single Pojo class, now assume same product information itself having all these 50 to 60 products properties instead of 5, 6. Now, what is the challenge here? So what is the challenge here? Properties means this is all ID, name, price, expiry date, create date, serial number, manufacturer, account details, okay, their address, their location, their trademark details, their license details. So everything I want to capture all the details about a product. So where, what is the location, what is their registered company name, so when it is established, all the details like that, around 40 to 50 to 60 properties came. That too I am talking about only one class point of view. Assume you are working for a Flipkart application or Amazon application. You know, right, how much big Flipkart and Amazon, because you will see thousands of products in Flipkart and Amazon. So that means when Flipkart is allowing them to add products, they will collect all this information. Blindly, they will not allow them to add all the information. So that means it's all about only one class, but I'm talking about hundreds of classes similar to this. So that means what is the challenge here? It is. So that means in a real-time application, when you are taking hundreds of classes and every class is on an average having 10 to 15 or around 60, 70 properties. So that means you are dealing with thousands of properties. So you are dealing with thousands of properties every day in our day-to-day application development. And these Pojo classes I explained in earlier session also. These Pojo classes will be used in different areas, different scenarios, guys. So there is a concepts available: DTO, data transfer objects, value objects, entity classes, okay, request body classes, response body classes. So that means concept wise Pojo class only, but the same Pojo class being used in different areas with different solutions or different concepts. So sometimes a Pojo class we will call it as a DTO. That means with respect to we are using Pojo class, like I want to share a data from one class to another class. So one class to another class point of view, whenever I want to share a data, generally we will create a Pojo class and we will keep all the data inside Pojo class and we will pass that object to other class via methods point of view, whatever it is, or simply one method to another method also, whenever method 1 would like to pass some information to method 2. So then also what we will do is we will create a Pojo class, and inside Pojo class we will keep all the information and we will pass that object. So in such cases, concept wise class is Pojo class only, but we are calling it as a data DTO object. So we are calling it as a DTO. So data transferable object. So sometimes value objects. So if you want to use same kind of DTO point of view only, we will call it as value objects. And sometimes same Pojo class you will implement for the purpose of entity classes. So what is an entity class? Here it is. Generally, when you are working with Spring or Spring Boot or Hibernate, whatever it is, Hibernate, JPA, frameworks, 100% we have a concept called as entity class concept. So if you want, I can show you one entity class example. So just high level perspective, I'll just show you how to define entity. I mean, you don't need to know about entity. My concept is this one, Pojo class. So without entity classes, you cannot work with the Spring Boot JPA framework. So here, if you observe, three properties are there and a class is defined Pojo class. So it's a Pojo class means plain old Java point of view, simple variables, simple setter getter methods, and sometimes if you require, you will define constructors also. So that is what about the concept of Pojo class. So now we decided we defined variables, constructors, setter getter methods. This is called as a Pojo class. So in this case, I am calling this class as an entity class. So that means what is my point here? It is how I am saying like you are defining hundreds of Pojo classes is all about. Sometimes you will define DTO classes, value object classes, entity classes, request body, response body. So these are all terminology people will understand once you are knowing the Spring Boot, all the modules, like especially JPA module and web module. By the time you will know all these things. Not only these things, guys, so many other areas you will use same Pojo classes as a utility concept in a real-time application point of view. So that means that's why I said as a developer, 100% you should know always more about Pojo class. So that much heavily a pojo class being used in every Java application. Without pojo class there will not be any real-time Java application. So that means in everywhere pojo class is involved. So that is okay, clear. Now from my overall discussion from last 15 minutes, what we understood, it's all about implementing the pojo classes. Pojo classes importance we understood, and as part of the pojo classes, whenever we define, what we used to do, basic thing is private variables on a high level, and then for those private variables you will define setter methods as well as getter methods. So that means to read the values of those variables. And sometimes in the pojo class perspective, people will write constructors also. Constructors also. So that means now let's come back to the point of constructor. So if you take in the same class again, 50, 60 properties of class, that okay, understand here. If you have only 5 properties, if you have only 5 properties, assume I asked you, okay, let's take these 4, 5 properties. So these are the 5, 6 properties are there. So the moment you are having these 5 variables or 5 properties, and if I am asking all arguments constructor, all arguments constructor. So what we have to do? So that means the moment you define the constructor, the moment you define a constructor, you have to pass all these values, all these variables you have to define as an arguments. Argument number 1, argument number 2, argument number 3, argument number 4, argument number 5. And then again, you will open the constructor body. And here you will write like this dot id equal to, id like that. Again, you will write 5 lines of logic. So my point here it is again, if the same class is having 50 properties, 5 properties wise you define this much constructor, this constructor. If the same class is having 40 to 50, 50 to 60 parameter, properties, then what you will do? So that means the moment if I am asking all arguments constructor, you have to define 40, 50 constructors, 40, 50 constructor arguments. And then again you have to write for that around 50 lines of logic to define one by one point of view. To define one by one point of view, you have to do that. So that means writing constructors also sometimes become a difficult task for the developer perspective. So writing setter getter methods. So the moment you are having n number of properties, more number of properties, it's all about the headache of, let me take a small example. New project, let me take a separate project. Okay, if you see here, the moment I taken here, I'll write a pojo class quickly. Okay, so if you see here, product information class, right? I'll take the 6 properties. Okay, so I said first thing is private variables, and based on the data types point of view, you will take all this. And then again, private string name. Yeah, private local date time or local date, whatever it is. And then I'll take it as a double price point of view. So 5 properties only. Okay. So the moment as part of the pojo class, what you have to do, you have to define setter getter methods. Setter and getter methods. So one thing is you are typing manually. If you are typing manually and if you are having 40 to 50 properties as part of your class, it will take 1 day. It will take 1 day. That is when you are typing manually. So that's why not Eclipse is giving an option called as generating setter getter methods. You will go to the source and from here you will generate getter setter methods like this. Okay, so the moment you did this, Eclipse is helping you to define setter getter methods. So if you observe here, get ID, set ID, get name, set name. So based on some syntax, all these things are implemented by the Eclipse IDE. Eclipse IDE is helping you to do all these things. Now similarly, the moment you want constructors also, all parameterized constructors, default constructor point of view. So I want constructors. I want constructor. So again, what you will do, you can type manually or you can take help of source, generate, getter, setters, constructors you are defining using fields. Like you defined a constructor like this. Okay. So if you see here, a constructor is defined like this. So if it is having 40-50 lines of 40-50 properties, then again this constructor arguments will become 40-50 constructor arguments, and here this logic will become 40 to 50 lines of constructor. 40-50 lines of constructor body here it will become. So that is also clear. Now I'll define one default constructor also so that I can go here source generate getter setters. Okay, I defined a default constructor also. This is also clear. Fine. Now sometimes we will define toString method. We will rewrite the toString method. Why? The moment whenever you are printing product information reference, what will happen? Let me take an application. It's a very important concept, guys. It's a real-time concept. I'm going very deep level. So I'll come back to the Lombok jar file within few minutes. First, understand the problems. Now we are understanding the struggles of a developer. Our development phases level, what are the problems we will face with respect to pojo classes and its properties point of view? What are the challenges we will face? Those challenges we are discussing. In a larger perspective, think always. Don't think like 2-3 variables like that. Think always like, okay, if you are having 40-50 properties here, then this will become very length and this are all becomes very length and all. So think such a perspective. Now see here, product information, product equal to new product information. So the moment I created object, okay, so I can call any of all these methods, like I can call all this. And generally when you will go for the toString method is, for example, if I am printing product reference, what will happen? You will see class name at the rate hash code value. So the output generally you will see class name at the rate, class name at the rate, output value, hash code value. But sometimes what we will do is we will define the toString method. So that because the reason is whenever you are printing a reference variable like this, internally it will always call the toString method. So that's why sometimes what we will do is we will define the toString method also. Even that facility is also provided by the Eclipse. See, generate toString method. So you are using all these fields point of view, you generated a toString method like this. So what is the advantage of this one is the moment whenever you are printing a reference variable, it will not print this like this going on. It will print the content of the object. So if you see here, ID equal to 0, name equal to null, price equal to 0 and all. Because yes, we are not set any values, right? If you are setting the values, then again things will come normal. Product dot set ID. So if I given 1111, so then again you will see based on this product, this time onwards you will see the content of the product. So in such a way, as a developer generally we have to write down this logic, but Eclipse is giving us a facility to generate automatically. Otherwise as a developer we have to override the toString method based on our requirement point of view. But Eclipse is helping us for that in that case. So now see ID 1111 because I am setting the value. So similarly, sometimes a pojo class will have, based on the requirement point of view, you have to generate equals and hash code method. Equals and hash code method. Equals and hash code methods also we have to define. So whenever you want to do some sorting, sorting operations, and when you are checking Okay, duplicate content of the objects. So this is all point of view. Generally, we have a concept called as overriding the equals and hash code methods. So in such case also you have to define equals and hash code methods implementation based on these properties. So if you are having 5 to 6 properties, there is no problem. So let's see here. Generally, this is also as a Java developer, we have to override or we have to write logic manually. But in this case also, Eclipse is helping us to generate the source code. If you see here, generate hash code and this point of view. Now see here, the moment I return hash code and equals method also, generally we have to write all this, but Eclipse is helping us. Again, in this case, Eclipse is a savior to the developer, so that it is just generating all the things like both objects are correct or not, and then it is checking serial number point of view and create date point of view. Everything is it is checking. The moment you are checking two objects content, if both objects are having same content, like with respect to all the properties, then it will give result like true false. That's a concept of equals and hash code. I'm not talking much about it. Now my point here, it is again, you have 5 to 6 properties, so that's why you got this length of comparison. If you are having 40-50 lines of 40-50 properties, so in this case also, if you are having 40-50 properties, and in this case also, the moment you are having 40-50 properties and the constructor point of view, setter getter methods point of view, then what's happening, your pojo class becoming very cumbersome. Like your pojo class is becoming very larger, and it is getting more confused also. The number of properties are getting increased, the number of, okay, confusion getting is increased. So this is point number one. So that means in a real-time perspective, a pojo class will have always sometimes variable setter getter methods are always common, guys. Without this, mostly pojo classes will not be there. Sometimes you will define constructors, sometimes you will rewrite, you will override two string method, sometimes you will override equals method, equals and hash code method. So at a time we will do both generally as a contract point of. So that means you will override equals and hash code methods. So these are all things you will do as part of a pojo class in a real-time application perspective. And you are taking help of Eclipse to generate this source code, and to write logic all this point of we are taking help of Eclipse. Now my next problem here it is, assume my requirement demanded like we don't want serial number. We don't want serial number as part of this class. Then what are the changes you have to do? So in this case, remove, the requirement is, now understand the struggle of a developer. Remove serial number property. Some reason manager said like, or whatever requirement is saying like, remove the serial number. We don't want to maintain serial number. Then what you have to do? Point number one, you have to remove the variable here. Okay, step number one, you have done that. The moment you remove the serial number, what you have to do? Again, you have to come to the constructor level. So you are doing, see how many changes I am doing here. So you removed place number 2, modification number 2. The moment you deleted from here, again, there are some errors. If you see here, there are again few errors. So that means the variable is you deleted, right? So again, I am deleting these lines. So that means what is the point you have to understand? The moment I am deleting some new property, some existing property, I'm making changes in the pojo class in so many areas. One is constructor body level, one is removing setter getter methods. So that means what are the changes we did? The removing serial number property, first remove the variable, and then from the constructor body, you have to remove, and as well as remove setter and getter methods. Okay, three places, three changes you did as of now. And then fourth one is, okay, I'll remove this. So I removed it. And fourth one is, yes, here also I have to do, right? So that means now in the toString method also you have to make some changes. Modify the toString method. So fourth step is modify toString also. Why? Because you deleted one property, right? So serial number. So that's the reason what you are doing here. It is again you have to do deleting all this serial number property and all. You have to do that. Now this is done, and again you need to do hash code point of view. So that means you have to modify again. Fifth step is you have to modify the hash code method, and sixth one is you have to modify equals method also. You have to modify equals method also. So what is the problem here? It is, let me do one thing. I removed it because I'm regenerating it again. Source generate hash code equals and hash code method. So now I regenerated. So then that means nothing but I modified. So for one small property, the moment you removed, you are making changes in six areas. Six areas as a Pojo class perspective. Now, one more requirement is after 10 days, a requirement came and they said we have to add a property called as, okay, so their contact email ID. The product, if any issue in the product, so we have to contact, right? So that's why we have to add this property. The new property is contact email ID in the Pojo class. Requirement is demanding, we have to maintain this information also. So that means what you decided in this case, you will go to the Pojo class and you will add a new variable called as private string, something like email ID you are added. So the moment you are added string email ID, what you have to do, this constructor should maintain always all the parameters of the class. So that means again you have to add the email ID here, comma email ID, this dot email ID equal to email ID. Again you have to generate setter getter methods. So that means if you go here again with respect to this property, the moment you are adding new property. So again you have to make changes six places level. Again you have to touch all these six areas like updating the constructor body, adding new setter getter methods, new setter getter method, and modify the toString method because you are added a new variable, and hash code hash code method also you have to modify because you added a new variable. So what is the problems, what are the challenges you are having here? It is the moment you maintain the Pojo classes in real-time applications, and especially whenever you are having more properties, the moment you are adding any new properties or removing existing properties, or maybe one more scenario I'll tell you. Third scenario is modified existing property modified existing property. So that means property means variable, I said, right? Now I told you assume this program is written by someone else, and I said I don't like variable name called as id. I said maintain it as a product id. Then you modified it as a product id. The moment you modified it as a product id, are you making change in only one place? Means no. Again you have to make change in six places. So I said change variable name from id to product id. Product id. So what again you are did? You made six places the changes. What it is, in the variable level you made product id, and again you are going to the constructor level, and here again you are saying like product id equal to product id, and the moment you made, again you have to update the setter methods and getter methods also, right? So that means you have to make the changes at the setter method and getter method level, and like this you have to make all the changes. So you have to make all the changes like this. So you are spending a lot of time again with respect to the new modification of the variable point of view. You are doing all these changes. You are doing all these changes. Is setter getter is updated. Again what you have to do? You have to update again here. Again you have to update here. Again you have to update here it is. So that means what's happening in this case? As a developer perspective, the moment you are adding any new properties, removing the existing properties, updating the existing properties in a Pojo class point of view, almost every time you have to touch all the areas. So as a developer perspective, you have to again redefine, or you have to retouch all the areas. You have to do modifications in every area. So this is the challenge. These are the problems to a developer when working for the real-time application. And I said every real-time application will have hundreds of pojo classes. So hundreds of pojo classes, every real-time application will have hundreds of pojo classes with around 30, 40, 50, 60 properties also sometimes. So that means on daily basis as a developer point of view, whenever you are doing all these activities, you are spending a lot of time with respect to modifying the variable names, modifying the setter getter methods, removing the setter getter methods, or something like that. These are all activities you are doing manually every time. So as a human point of view, as a human, as a developer point of view, if you are doing all these things, sometimes there might be a chance of missing something. So there might be a chance of happening mistakes. So that means assume you forgot to update the equals method. So then what will happen? Your some reason you will see wrong information because of equals method. You forgot to update it. It's not an intentional, because as a human point of view we can do that. So you forgot to update the equals method. So due to that reason, you are getting unexpected results. You are not done that intentionally. You forget it when you are updating the product ID to product ID. You forgot one of the area. So that's why some unexpected results are coming. So these are all challenges as part of a real-time application. Now in this case, the Pojo, sorry, then now in this case, the Lombok is saving us. So in this case, the project Lombok is saving us. So now let's understand how the project sounds Lombok became as a savior with respect to develop. Let's see here. Now there is a third party library or some organization came into the picture, and they said they focused more and more on the Pojo classes only initially. They focused more and more on the Pojo classes definition only. So Pojo classes definition, they focused more and more. And all these challenges are okay overcome by using this Lombok. So that means Project Lombok is a third party open source library. So if you see here, they will call it as Project Lombok. So if you see here, this is what website, official website. So generally they used to call it as a Project Lombok. So this third party organization, open source guys, open source means, see the Project Lombok is a open source organization. So open source means anyone can use this library or this functionality into their projects without license, without spending amount and all. So anyone can use it. So there is no need of license, all these things. So what Project Lombok is doing in this case is they focused more and more on the Pojo classes definition. Whatever the challenges we discussed as of now, they observed all these things and they came up with some solutions by using this Project Lombok. So that means now what in this case Project Lombok is saying is whenever you define a Java projects, okay, Java is nothing but assume you are having Spring Boot, everything. The moment I said Java means all frameworks included. Hibernate, Spring Boot, microservices, whatever it is, architecture point of view, whatever. The moment you are working for the Java applications, and whenever you are dealing with hundreds of Pojo classes, okay, if you are taking help of Project Lombok, if you are taking help of Project Lombok, so that means now what you have to do is you have to take help of Project Lombok. That means add a jar file, add a jar file of Project Lombok to our project. Add a jar file of our project Lombok to our project. Sorry, add a jar file of Lombok to our project. So the moment you are added Lombok jar file to your project, so that means now your project is enabled with Lombok functionalities, Lombok jar file functionality. But the question here it is what Lombok is doing. What Lombok is doing in this case. So why we are adding Lombok jar file means definitely there are some advantages of it. So what Lombok is doing, let me show you one by one. First point, so concentrate now. There are a lot of steps involved now. I mean, only one time setup this is all about. So now same class, again I just maintained only variables. Okay, only variables I kept. I removed all the things because we discussed all the challenges, right? Okay. So the moment what I'm saying right now, once you created your Java application, take the Lombok jar file into your project consideration. So let's do one thing. Now, yeah, I'll remove this is also. Okay. Now what I'm doing, I said take jar file into your project level. So how to get the jar file means go here, download. If you see here, download 1.18.36, right? So click on that, a jar file is downloaded. So the moment you are clicking here, you can see one jar file is getting downloaded. So I think I already have jar file Lombok. That's why it is giving. Okay, it is being used somewhere else. Okay, but no problem. So this is the jar file is getting downloaded, right now. So you know how to set the build path for a project. So go here, right click, new, right click, build path, configure build path, come back to libraries, class path, and add external jars. So the moment whatever the jar file is downloaded, right? So add this jar file. So you have to see like this. Class path level, your jar file has to be displayed like this. Now apply and close. So that means what you did step number one. In your project level, you are taking support of project Lombok jar file. It's only one jar file, guys. It's only one jar file. Okay. Point number one. So what you did, created project, and step number two, Java project, added Lombok jar file. Added Lombok jar file. I think you can do parallelly with me also, or you can refer the video going further. No problem. Just concentrate right now. Okay, added Lombok jar file. So how you added means downloaded and added as to the class path level. So these are all common things you did earlier also for different other things point of view. Okay, so added Lombok jar file. Okay, until that is fine. Now the next point is what are the advantages of Lombok jar file? So in this case, what Lombok is saying is the moment you added Lombok to your jar file and whenever you define the pojo classes, whenever you define the pojo classes, okay. So Lombok provided some predefined annotations. Lombok provided some predefined annotations. So what are those annotations are saying is, in this case, what Lombok is saying is, the moment you added Lombok to your project and whenever you are defining a pojo class, so once you define the variables like this, once you define a variables like this, now this is the pojo class I'm expecting, 6 properties, assume it is having 60 properties also. So the moment based on my requirement, I collected all the properties. That means variables. So these 6 variables I have to maintain. Assume it is 50 variables like that. In your imagination, consider it as a 50 variables. Okay, I taken 6, but consider as a 50 variables. Now these are all 50 variables. Point of view, what generally we will do in a regular mode point of view, in a without Lombok, what we did in previous steps, we generated setters. Sorry, first default constructor. And then second one is arguments constructor. All arguments constructor. All arguments constructor. So, I mean, whether you typed manually or you taken help of Eclipse like generate constructor, generate setter getter method, it doesn't matter. Finally, you defined or not. That is what point here it is. All arguments constructor. After that, setter methods. After that, getter methods. Getter methods. And sometimes you will override toString method. I mean, you return toString. After that, sometimes hash code method, sometimes equals method. Equals method. So these are all things you did manually as part of your Pojo class for all these 50 properties. So that means for 50 variables means 50 setter methods, 50 getter methods, and all toString method also contains lot of huge body. I'll do one thing. I'll keep this class as it is so that we'll come to know which one is easy. Okay. Okay. So I'll keep this class as this. Now, the moment you did this, these are all things you did. Now with the Lombok, so that means you added jar file, right? Now your project is supporting Lombok functionality. So what Lombok is doing in this case is, what Lombok is saying is, I'm giving you some predefined annotations. I have some predefined annotations. Define those annotations into your project, into your pojo class level. So that means just define annotations. I'll give you the list of annotations. Define annotations in pojo class, and so that once you define the annotation in the pojo class, remaining functionalities, once you define okay annotation in the pojo class, few things, okay, what are those things? I'll come back one by one. That's why I'm giving generic statement, is taken care by Lombok automatically. So what is that point here? It is what it is taking automatically is, for example, step number one, I said you have to define a default constructor. So default constructor means zero parameterizer constructor. So for that, what you did, this is what you did, right? Now let's do one thing. I'll take a separate class and I'm giving that name as product details. Okay, so one class, one pojo without Lombok, how you did, one pojo with Lombok. So now assume I'm removing all these things. Now total 6 properties. So what Lombok is saying now, the moment you define variables, so this is a common step. Whenever you want to define a default constructor or all arguments constructor, setter, getter for all these 50 variables or whatever the variables is, they are giving some predefined annotation. For example, annotation number one, they given one annotation called as no args constructor at the rate. So where you define, observe here guys. If you observe here, I'm using one annotation called as no args. Args means arguments constructor, and it is imported. This annotation is imported from where? Lombok. This annotation is imported from where? Lombok. So when you can import means until and unless your project is okay configured with that Lombok jar file, you will not see this option, guys. I'm telling you one more time. So you have to make sure this Lombok jar file added to the class path. Then only you will get this support of annotation. So if you see here, I will remove that. Then you cannot access this jar files. If you remove it, apply, close, see, then it is saying like error. Java compiler is saying, what is this annotation? I don't know. Because it's not part of Java language. It's a third party library. It's a third party library, right? It's not part of Java language. It's not part of any other thing. So that's why what you have to do, the moment you downloaded the jar file, attach to the build path and class path level. So build path, configure build path, class path, add external jar, add the Lombok. So you have to see like this. For which project? For the project whatever you created. I created Flipkart. So apply and close. The moment you added that jar file, so that these are all what? These annotations and all coming from the Lombok framework. Lombok framework. Okay. So now what's happening in this case? I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Just wait a second. So what is the first annotation we used is no arguments constructor. To avoid the spelling mistakes, I'm taking help of all this. Now, second thing is one more one more annotation is available, all args constructor. See, these are all importing from the Lombok framework, guys. Lombok jar file or Lombok framework. Now, second one is all args constructor. And third one is at the rate setter. Fourth one is at the rate getter. I'm just collecting the annotation names without spelling mistakes. I'll tell you one by one what exactly it is and what's happening also I'll tell you. And then one more important one is data. Okay, even if you can see from here also. So if you see here, all args constructor, data, setter, getter, constructor, builder. Okay. So I'll tell you what is the builder also. I'll just give you overview. So sneaky throws, something like that. But don't worry about everything. So there are A couple of things are there, but I am taking you mostly what is being used in everyday in our day-to-day application perspective point of view. I'm taking those annotations. Once you are having overview of 5 to 6 annotations in the Lombok point of view, remaining and all you will understand. First of all, we should know the overview of Lombok, how it is helping and all. So that's why I'm taking these annotations and equals and hash code. Yeah. So this one also we can take. So just give me a moment. Equals and hash code and data we taken, equals and hash code, getter we taken, setter I taken, builder also. Builder generally, yeah, I'll take builder also, no problem. I'll tell you what is builder point of view. Yeah, these are all just mostly we will use day to day in our day to day applications. There are few things available, SLF for J, log for J and all. We no need to worry about all those things right away. At the rate value, all these things and all, no need to worry. Yeah, two string method. I think yeah. Two string. This is what one thing. At the rate two string. I'll tell you guys what is this and all, and then data get that. Yeah. So let's take these are all primarily more and more we will use generally in our day-to-day application project level. So what and all I'll tell you this one by one. Let's see here. Okay. So these are all annotations provided by the Lombok framework. Now what Lombok is saying in this case is how Lombok is saving a developer to here it is. The moment you added no or constructor at class level. See, generally these are all we will use mostly at class level, guys. So you know that, right? Annotations will be defined at class level, variable level, methods level, retention levels, retention policies. So these are all things generally we will use at a class level, these annotations. And these are all provided by the whom? Lombok. So what Lombok is saying is the moment you added no aux constructor to your class, no aux constructor to your class. So what in this case it is saying is, okay, let me do one thing one by one. So the moment you added this, what Lombok will do is, while compiling your Java class or your pojo class, a default, so in this case, a default constructor is automatically generated. Is automatically generated. So that means, what is the point of automatically generated here? It is the moment you taken this one, a default constructor is automatically generated. So whenever you added this annotation, you no need to add default constructor again here. Like earlier what you did, if you go to this class, this is the default constructor, right? Now you no need to write this default constructor. It's already there. It's already there in this class now. So that means the default constructor is already presented in this class now. You no need to add manually again. Why? How it is available this time? Because you added an annotation called as noaux constructor. So the moment you added noaux constructor, so here already a default constructor is added. A default constructor is added. Who is added? Who added means Lombok added. So Lombok jar file is added. Okay, fine. Now, no means that's what? No means zero arguments, guys. Now I'm saying like all args constructor. So the moment I said all args constructor again at class level, automatically a constructor is generated here. So that means all arguments constructor is added here. In this class, all arguments constructor is added. So that nothing but whatever the constructor you created right earlier. So this is whatever we defined manually or we taken generated from the Eclipse point of view. Now this constructor is already available here. So how can I say this constructor is already available means that is added by the Lombok automatically. So that means what you have to understand here it is, the moment you are doing all these things, okay, let me take one more annotation also, then I will tell you very clearly. Now I'm adding setter. The moment I added again setter annotation here, how many properties are there? 6 properties are there, but we are assuming like 50 properties, right? So for all these 50 properties, assume earlier if it is 50 properties, 50 setter methods, set ID, set name, set price, set manual, set series, set date, set serial number, set address. So like that, you are writing, keep on writing the setter methods. 50 properties, 50 setter methods. But in this case, 0 lines logic you are writing, but 50 setter methods are added. 50 setter methods are added. See, 50 setter methods are added. So that means you cannot see with your eyes right now here, but these 50 setter methods are added. Who added? Again, Lombok is added. So how it is added? The moment you add, so that means what you are trying to say here it is, now understand. So this is the conclusion of Project Lombok in any real-time application, guys. So what you are trying to say here it is, yeah, what will happen? Let's try to understand. Just conclusion point we are trying to get. And one more thing also there is, we will discuss that one also. So the moment you added like this, what's happening in this case is, generally you know that it's a what Java file, right? Dot Java file. So dot Java file. And dot Java file is converted to dot class file. That means you will do the compilation. So the moment generally you will do compilation, right? Once you are doing the compilation, what will happen? You will get the dot class file, bytecode format, and you will get dot class file. Okay. So here what's happening here it is, the Lombok jar file. I don't know why they given this red chili, but generally they are using this red chili. I think their intention is spicy. You're adding spicy to your project. I don't know exactly. Yeah. So the moment you added Project Lombok support to your project, you are able to add these annotations, right? So based on these annotations, what's happening in your logic is, in your class, whenever it is converting to dot class file level, for all these properties, whenever you added this, and okay, no args constructor means I'll just take like this. I'll not write entire things. So the dot class file level, the moment whenever it is compiled, so a default constructor is added. So how do you know how I'm saying? Whenever it is compiling to the dot class file level, internally Project Lombok taking our Java file and added a default constructor. How do you say that? Because we given the no aux constructor. If we given no aux constructor, then in this class level, for example, your requirement is demanding no default constructor, then you will not add that annotation. If you are not added means Lombok will not do anything. So that means the moment you are added annotations which are provided by the Lombok, based on that Lombok is auto generating the source code, and then your Java classes are compiled to the dot class level. So that means by the time dot class file got created, internally this Java class, this pojo class contains one default constructor, one all arguments constructor, and setter methods of all these properties also. So if you are having 6 here or 50, whatever it is, now in this case, yeah, so in this case, all 50 setter methods are added automatically. So who is doing? Project Lombok is doing. So if you remove setter, that means now this class is having only one default constructor and one all arguments constructor. Now this class doesn't have any setter methods and getter methods. So the moment you added setter means, then what's happened? Immediately before getting dot class file is getting created. Okay, so auto generated classes. Generally here, a new class will be created internally, guys. Okay, a new class will be created and then that class will be compiled to dot class level. So that means here a default constructors are added. Okay, constructor added constructor. Similarly, added setter methods. Who is added all this? Lombok is doing. Added setters. It's not added getter methods. Why? You are not given the instruction. The moment you mentioned as I want getter also, like at the rate getter, one more annotation is said, right? Then immediately Lombok what it will do? Again, it will regenerate this class by adding getters also. By adding getters also. Getters for how many properties? All the properties. 50 properties point of view, 50 getter methods it will add. So then finally our dot class file contains a default constructor, an arguments constructor, a 50 setter methods, 50 getter methods also. So this is the advantage of Project Lombok. So in this case, auto generated. Those setters, getters are all auto generated every time automatically by the Project Lombok. Project Lombok. So that means now then what is the advantage of it is? What is the advantage of it is I said right. Let me do one thing. I'll tell you one thing. I don't know whether ChatGPT will give or not. Provide me a pojo class which is having 50 properties in Java. I don't know. Just I need n number of. Okay, good. This is what advantage of ChatGPT. Now see here. That's what my point. It's all 50 properties you are there. Yeah, stop. So you have 50 properties like this. Something like order or whatever it is. Now you have 50 properties like this. So the moment you are having 50 properties, order name, order person, delivery person, like that. Yes, in real-time projects you will have guys. Don't say like we will not have. Even I have seen so many. We are implemented so many like that. Now the moment you are added these many properties, how will you manage the all arguments constructor, source, generate? Even if you are taking help of Eclipse, so you are generating constructor with all the fields. See the constructor became how much length? It's all about. This is the constructor you define. This is all constructor body. Now, similarly, setter getter methods. Source generate getter setter methods. Source. Yeah. Source generate setter getter methods for all the properties. Generate how many lines your project? Your class came 600 lines. It came, and you are added setter getter method for all these things. This is all you are doing manually. And the disadvantage is what? If I deleted one property 11 number, property number 11, then again I have to modify my constructor. I have to modify my constructor. Otherwise, I'll get the compile time error. So I have to delete here and I have to delete from somewhere else. And I have to delete setter getter methods. I have to delete from here if I have two string methods. Again, that is a challenge. Again, that is a challenge. So let's go to the two string and define those methods also. A common method source generate toString method. So then toString method became this much length. And act equals and hash code point of view also source generate equals and hash code method point of view also see here it became like this. And it is always a common logic, same logic, whatever. That's why Eclipse is doing. But if you are taking help of Lombok, what's happening? You don't need to write all these things. Based on your requirement is demanding setter getter methods for all the properties. Then just add a simple annotation over there. Now go here. Remove all this nonsense. Okay. And add at the rate setter. The moment you added what at the rate setter, what happened? Automatically 50 setter methods are added, guys. For all these 50 properties, 50 setter methods are added to this class. The moment you added getter, 50 getter methods are going to be generated automatically. So as a developer, what is the advantage? Again, you have to understand here it is your code becomes very precise code, but that is all common logic. Every developer knows how a setter method looks like, how a getter method looks like, how a constructor looks like. So if you are doing everything manually, it looks like very cumbersome, and it is making lot of headache with respect to longer lines of code. But in this case, Lombok is taking care of everything. Now if you want a constructor, so as of now you are not given anything, right? So that means no constructor is added. Now if you are added all args constructor, if you are added all toString method, if you are added all equals and hash code method, so what's happening in this case means whatever you generated as of now by Eclipse point of view, you did everything, those are all automatically generated. Now you can ask one question, sir, okay, Eclipse point of view, Eclipse is helping us to generate, then what is the main use of Lombok? That's what I said, right? Even though Eclipse point of view, if you deleted one property, you have to make sure changes in so many places. But now see, I deleted property number 20. What happened in this case? Guess. Automatically, Lombok will remove setter and getter method of that property number 20. And from the all arguments constructor also total 49 arguments constructor will be regenerated again. So that means dynamically the modification of generation of setter getter methods, the modification of toString methods, the modification of all arguments constructors, the modification of equals and hash code logic is automatically refreshed, automatically regenerated. As a developer now, if you are taking these use cases with respect to Lombok, you removed a product, you removed a variable. You are not doing single line. Only variable level you will make one change. These are all things you are not at all doing anything. Lombok is taking care. You added a new property. Now a new property came into the picture. Property number 16 or whatever it is. Private, okay, boolean, something like is valid, whatever it is. Now the moment you added this again, what's happened for this new property also? Earlier what you did, you added to the constructor body, you added new setter getter methods and all you are doing. But now automatically setter getter method is created, constructor body level added, hash code level added, equals level added, toString level also added. Now the moment you modified the variable name, so he said I don't want is valid, make it as okay is available. So now I'm modifying the variable or something like spelling mistake, whatever it is, I given valid. Now again what will happen? A fresh new setter getter methods will be generated based on the new variable name what you given. Automatically constructor level changes will happen, toString will level happen, equals will level happen, hash code level happen. So this is how the Lombok is making our life is very easy. This is how the Lombok is making our life very easy. So now whenever in a real-time project perspective, you created hundreds of pojo classes, and every time every pojo class requires setter getter methods, okay, individually or whatever it is, you no need to generate from the Eclipse also. Just add one jar file to your project and all hundreds of Java classes level, all hundreds of pojo classes level, and whenever you are having 100 properties as part of one class also, you don't worry about the setter methods, getter methods, constructor body and all. Those are all automatically generated by the Lombok every time at every class level. So that means now if you go to this class again, remove all this nonsense. So there is, see, it's very looks like very okay, what huge kind of thing, but now I deleted all. So what you will do, simply you are choosing the solution of Lombok. So you need only setter methods, add setter annotation. So that means now this class contains only setter methods for this property. There is no getter methods. Your requirement is demanding like that. You want getters also, then add at the rate getter. You want all constructor argument, add all args constructor. You want default constructor, add no args constructor. You want toString method, add toString method. That's all. You don't need to do all these things. Then automatically this class contains toString method, default constructor, parameterizer constructor, setter getter methods, and everything available for all the properties. If you remove one property also, automatically again a new class automatically generated with latest 5 properties. If you modified something also, it will take care of that modification also. Everything automatically Lombok is taking care. It's reducing lot of headache to the developer. Point number one. So, okay. So that is what about this jar files here it is. Sorry, this annotations here it is. Okay. And when it comes to data annotation, so there is a specialty available for data. So data is all about equal to combination of at the rate setter plus at the rate getter plus at the rate toString plus at the rate equals and hash code, guys. That's all. So that means it's a shortcut annotation, equals and hash code annotation we have, right? Yeah. So the data annotation is nothing but equal to this combination of this four annotations. So nothing but you added toString getter setter all this, right? So now instead of adding two times one getter and one setter and toString point of view, simply if you are added one annotation called as at the rate data, that's all. So that means data is covering, if you observe here, data is covering, I'll show you that. Yeah, it is covering. Yeah, I'll show you here also. In the official document, I'll show you. Yeah, simple. That's what. Yeah, there is an installation process. See, simple. It is very simple. I'll show you. At the rate data data annotation in Lombok. Just it is a combination of all those. Instead of you writing 3-4 lines, if you added at the rate data, then automatically setter getters added, toString method added, equals and hash code method also added. That is what about the shortcut of data. So if you written 4 individual lines or instead of that you written single at the rate data, it is a combination of all those things. If you see here, I don't want all this. Yeah, see here, at the rate data is nothing but toString equals hash code as well as getters and setters. So instead of adding 4 annotations at the rate getter, at the rate setter, at the rate toString, at the rate equals hash code, if you are added simply at the rate data, then it is nothing but you are telling to the Lombok generate setters, getters, toString and as well as equals hash code method for all the properties. It's a shortcut annotation. That's all about the data. Now the point is, next point. What it is go to the Flipkart application again, go to the main method application. Now let's create object for the product details. What I will do, I will give at the rate data. So data means setter getter methods also added automatically, right? Okay, so I removed all this. Okay, so see here. Total now, I have a default constructor, arguments constructor, setter getters, toString and everything available for this class now. Now I'm creating object for this class. What is that class? Product details, right? Product details or product information. Whatever it is fine. Yeah, product details I'll take. Anything is fine. I'm creating object for that. Product details equal to new product details. So generally what we will do whenever we want to set a value, we will call the setter method. But now the problem is what? You cannot see the setter method. You cannot see the getter methods. Why? And I said Lombok is automatically generating setter getter methods because of this annotation. Then the moment, however, I did earlier, like dot get dot set method in our previous point of view. So if you take an ABC class, I mean, I'm just taking very quickly ABC integer ID, and the moment you have source generate getter setters, so you have setter getter method, right? So what you can do generally, the moment you created object for the ABC equal to new ABC, So you can do a dot set id and you can set some value. A dot get id, something like that you can do. Set dot set id, get id, all these things. But why it's not happening here? And I said Lombok is generating setter getter methods. But why I am unable to access getter method or setter method? Nothing here I am unable to access. The reason is here again one small thing you have to do in your Eclipse setup level. So what it is the moment you added jar files, one more thing is you have to do is install plugin of Lombok in your IDE. IDE means it might be Eclipse, it might be Spring Tool Suite, IntelliJ, whatever it is. Eclipse, STS, or IntelliJ, whatever the IDE you are using. So in that, you have to install a Lombok plugin. This is all one-time activity. So it's all doing at editor level. So that means this plugin you have to install. Nowadays, I think latest Eclipse versions are by default coming up with a Lombok plugin, guys. Okay, in our Eclipse, by default Lombok plugin is installed. Latest Eclipse are having with that feature. So whether your Eclipse is having Lombok plugin or not, you can verify like this. Go to help, install new software, and here you have an option called as already installed. And if you observe here, you have to see something like Lombok. So if the Lombok plugin is not installed, then you will not see Lombok option here it is. If it is already installed, then you will see here after ML, right? Yeah. So here somewhere you will see Lombok. So that means right now my Eclipse also not installed with the Lombok. So that means I have to install the Lombok plugin into our Eclipse. Same thing you have to follow for STS also. So how to install Eclipse plugin, Lombok plugin. So I'll tell you that. So once you are doing that, see in this case already setter getters are already created. But because of that Lombok plugin in our Eclipse browser is not able to show those dot set get intelligence here it is. So that's why you are getting all this problem. Otherwise you are already have that method. So Eclipse perspective, you have to do that. So see here what I have to do. What you have to do means you have to install the plugin, right? How to do that is go here, understand the steps. So if you see here install Eclipse, yeah, take this URL, take this URL, and here already they explained how to do that also. Same follow you can also, or I just follow the recording also, whatever it is. Control C. So that means you have to take this plugin URL and then go to the Eclipse, go here, help. Now install new software and come back here. You have an option called as add. Click on the add and give some name, whatever name you want. And this is the URL you have to paste here. The URL what you copy pasted from the Lombok website, right? So this URL until P2 that you have to provide here it is. Now click on add. The moment you clicked on add, so here you have seen, right, your Lombok plugin URL. So then you will see here like this. Select this. So select this and then click on next. Make sure your Eclipse connected to internet. Same process applicable for STS also, guys. Maybe who are practicing on the STS, Spring Boot, all this, right? So same thing you have to do here also. Eclipse and STS both are same. You know that. It's a real-time tool, guys. I don't know how much serious you are taking all this discussion. It's a very important thing. You can add now Lombok in your resume also. So you can explain them how Lombok is working and all. So now here also, if it is STS, install new software. So observe that URL is already there or not. It's not there. Take add and add the Lombok URL like whatever you collected from there. Add here, add it. And the moment you add it here, you will see here and select this Lombok. Click on next. It is in STS. Same whether it STS or Eclipse, both are same. Now see it is getting installing. So both at a time I'm showing in Eclipse and STS point of view. I think I saw like in the latest Eclipses, it is coming automatically. Just verify once it's available or not. It's available, then you don't need to do all this installation of Lombok plugin. But when you created Java project, adding jar file is common always. At every individual project level, you have to add that jar file. What's happening this much time? Okay, see here, the moment you add it, you have to accept next, finish. That means installing the software. So it is saying like, do you want to allow everything? Trust selected. And then again, trust selected. Then automatically your plugin is added and restart your IDE once. So in this case also, Eclipse also finish. So installing software. Yeah, STS level it is completed. Eclipse level still it is installing, but both are same. Now see here. Now you can verify. First of all, Eclipse plugin is installed or not. How? Install new software. Go here. What is already installed? Click on here and come back here. You can see Lombok like this. If you are seeing Lombok in this already installed list means your editor is already installed with the Lombok. So then you don't need to do all this process. It's not there, then you have to do all this. Okay, so that means now my STS is also installed. Eclipse point of view, it is still happening. I don't know why it is taking this much time. So once you have done that, then automatically based on annotations what you given setter at the rate data means now there's 6 properties or 5 properties are having setter and getter methods, right? So automatically wherever you are seeing dot get dot set, you will get automatically that Eclipse intelligence. That Eclipse intelligence, you can see that. I don't know why it's taking this much time. Once we are done with this, then you are good to go with Lombok in every. So that's what I had said. In earlier case, if you are using one more Java project you created, so then again you have to add build path level the Lombok jar file. If you want in your project level Lombok features, add jar file to your project. And this plugin installation is only one-time activity. So what's happening? It's done in the STS very quickly. It's a very small plugin, but unfortunately it is taking longer time in the Eclipse. So if I am showing this example, then we are done with this session. Just bear with me for a few more minutes. That means we are done completely with the project Lombok. It's so that means now going further in our trainings or maybe when you are practicing also. Okay, it's done now. I think it's coming up. Yeah, it's moving quickly now. Yeah, restart now. Thanks, it's done. Okay, so going further, you can also practice couple of examples with the setter getter methods and all these things, and maybe once you got confidence on setter getter methods and all these things, then start using Lombok in your practice. In core Java projects also you can do that. That's what even we created right now core Java only. So everywhere you can use it. Add that jar file to build path level. So instead of setter getter methods you are typing manually or generating from the Eclipse, leave that option to the whom? Editor. Editor will take care. Now see, once I install, so if you go to the product details class, yeah. So if I go to the product details, I added at the rate data, right? So at the rate data is nothing but you add it. So this class is contains setters as well as getters also. So that means dot set ID, get ID, something like that. So now see here, the moment you created object, right? Now you can access the setter getter methods. Dot set, see, set create date, set email ID, set name, set price. So this intelligence will come once you install that plugin. Earlier you cannot see like this. The moment you are typing dot set, Generally, we will do control space in our Eclipse, right? Then you will see all the suggestions, the intelligent suggestions. You are not seen that because the reason is Eclipse. Sorry, that IntelliJ plugin. Sorry. That Lombok plugin is not installed in your editor. That means in your Eclipse. So that's why you are not seeing that. Now, once you are installed that, then you can see this option. Now I am seeing like project set ID 1111 details dot set name. So it's all regular process only. Only thing is what you eliminated is you are not written setter getter methods. Point number one. And yeah, go here. Now print the reference. Generally, whenever you are printing this reference, what will happen? You will see like class name at the rate hash code value. But this time, what you will see? A two string implementation. Why two string? You added at the rate data. At the rate data means internally two string method also implemented, overridden for all these properties. So see here, run as Java application. See here, you have seen like product details, ID, name, whatever I given iPhone. Remaining I did not given. That's why you have seen that. Now similarly, you can access getter methods also. Details dot get email ID. So print it. Null you will see. Obviously null only, right? Email ID value equal to null. So that's how you're seeing. So now create an object with all parameters. So all arguments constructor. Is it having all arguments? Yes, it's having. So that means now I can create all arguments constructor object also here. So see here, product details 2 equal to new product details. See default constructor, parameterizer constructor. So parameterizer constructor point of view, you can pass any values or else you can leave as it is default values. You can give any values here. Okay, so Dilip at the rate gmail.com. So it's all about Samsung. So something like that. Price and print the reference of details to now. It's not printing hash code value and its class name. Generally, it will print like that, right? But now, because of that annotation at the rate data, internally two string method is implemented. See now, all the data is coming. Now understand one more point. The advantage I said, right? Now, for example, I told you made it as product ID. Product ID. So what's happening in this case? Automatically setter methods and getter methods are updated to set ID to set product ID, get ID to get product ID. And automatically two string methods level earlier you saw what? If you see here ID, right? Now two string method level also these variables will be updated to product ID or that means again freshly two string methods equals and hash code methods all these are all updated internally guys. So let's see here you are getting compile time error. Why? Because you know that, right? I said right now one point. The moment you changed variable name ID to product ID, so internally Lombok changed set ID method to set product ID based on the update what you did. So that's why you have to make sure set product ID here also. So that means a latest thing you did, right? Now let's see here. See product ID. A very minimal changes you are doing when comparing with our previous solution. When comparing with this solution, very minimal. So even though you are having 100 properties, now you are not at all worrying about setter getter methods and all by using the Lombok help. So this is all about Lombok usage in our projects. So with this, we are done with Lombok and going further, wherever there is a possibility of using pojo classes, I will use Lombok and you can also start using Lombok jar file and start generating automatically the classes, I mean the setter getter methods via Lombok point of view. Okay, so is it clear? With this, we are done with the real-time tool called as, the real-time library called as, if you see here all the dot class files, whatever you are seeing product dot class files, you cannot see from here. Mhm, mhm. Actually, there are some concepts available decompilers point of view. From there, you can see all the setter getter methods and everything. Decompilers. See here, even though I just opened the dot class file from the Eclipse, something it is saying Lombok generated. See, setter methods. Who generated? Lombok is generated. So in finally in a dot class file level, you are having already set, see set price. These are all generated by the Lombok point of view. So it's not our concept, just I'm trying to show internalities what's happening under. But ultimately you are able to do all these activities via Lombok. So this is the advantages of Lombok, and every application is using nowadays, everybody is using Lomboks in their application, so that we no need to waste our time with respect to setter methods, getter methods, every time for every pojo class, for every property point of view. Lombok is taking care of automatically based on the updates, new variables added. Now if you added new variable, automatically new setter getter method is added to this class by Lombok. You are not doing anything. Automatically Lombok is updating the constructor, setter getter methods, added new setter getter methods, updated toString method, added one new constructor argument to all arguments constructor level. Everything is Lombok is taking care.